I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and boy, do we have a really good show ahead of you.
Wait.
Ahead of you?
That's right. So tune in about 2 hours, right? Because we're way ahead. We're way ahead of you.
We're on Sven time now.
That's right. Listen, before we get any further, I just want everyone to know, and for Brent, this is getting it out of the way. For me, it's like I'm really glad about this. But it's Brent's birthday today, everybody. Happy birthday, Brent. And nobody will sing because we are not Olive Garden.
Well, thank you for that. It's actually been a really good day. I usually don't do too much with my birthday over the last couple of years because of some things that have happened. And I wasn't really feeling all that great about this birthday because this is the first one without my mother, but it's actually been a really nice day. And I've had just a lot of people saying happy birthday, and I really appreciate it. And one that I think really helped me today was my mom's last sibling. My 95-year-old Aunt Alice called me, and that was really nice. Yeah, so that was cool.
Amazing.
So anyway, thanks for everybody for all the happy birthdays and the kind words and all that. All right. So this is a cool show because we've actually been wanting to do this for a while because we've been in the analyst game for a lot of years, and we meet a lot of people, and particularly folks like in the analyst relations side, folks that are there to really help us do what we do. And, we run across some really great people. And you and I talked about how we just don't think they get enough credit for all that they do. And so we wanted to do something that allows them to, get a little bit of the spotlight, but also to share, why they're so good at what they do in hopes that the other people that aren't as good as they are will get to be as good as they are.
Well, and these are they're exceptional, just exceptional humans. I don't know if you remember this, but you remember for years I used to refuse to call myself an analyst, even though everybody else did. And I literally just thought that's like why are you insulting me so badly? Right. So I don't understand what did I do to gain your wrath? So, but the good news is at a certain point I kind of caved on that one and decided, all right, I'll call myself an analyst. And thank God I did, because then I got to meet these people, right, as a result of that. But I'll tell you, other than that, I would have had to find someone who did comedian relations, which is what I used to call myself.
Wow, comedian relations?
No, not comedian. That would have been too funny.
Okay.
Right, chameleon. I would say I am whatever you think I am, was what I used to say.
I don't know. I think I would have been cool with comedian relations. Could you imagine being like, hey, here's Shecky Green. Let me introduce you.
That's right. A former comedian himself was now in comedian relations.
And what would a beginning to a CRM Players show be without? Wow, and Sven is actually using English today.
Well, this is the 33rd language. He's
Oh, thank you, Lori. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. No asparagus or whatever that thing you tried to feed me at that one event. But before we get to, and we have 5 really great, they're not just analyst relations people, they're friends at this point.
Yeah.
We're going to bring them on. But before we do, we got to do a little shtick here, right? Yeah, shtick or whatever you want to call it. Stuff. Are there any updates for BYOB this week?
No, not really. A little bit. Probably early next week, the call for ban stuff will actually go out. I said this week, but I was basically finding myself mostly recovering from side effects from the second COVID vaccine shot. So guess what won, right? Next week, the BYOB call for bans will go out. We pretty much have most of them already lined up. They just kind of confirm, and then we'll be good. But we do have one, I think, fairly big announcement, don't we?
Okay. Right. So a couple of weeks ago, we were horrified. We were just surprised. We were shocked. We were crushed. We felt like we had just been left behind, basically. And that was because our one of our beloved players in residence, Ginger Conlon, who I like to call G-Con, she graduated. She didn't. We didn't know she was graduating, but she graduated, and she graduated to being the brand new director of thought leadership for Genesis. And all I could say is we miss her, but boy, were they smart to bring her on board.
Oh my God. You could not have brought on a better person for a job more appropriate to that person.
Yes. Yes. So having left, that, presented a bit of a void, just like when Brian Solis left and Jamie Anderson left and now she's leaving. It's like, does anybody ever want to stay with us at this point? I mean, it's kind of,
so you can get a job with a vendor. That's kind of the idea.
That's right. All right. So, we wanted to fill that void. We wanted to have a fully stacked player in residence program. And so we scoured the earth. We actually went out to the universe, the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching a lot of Marvel comics lately. So.
I can see. Are you about to announce a crossover?
That's right. Well, maybe not that. Well, it is big for us at least. So we wanted to have, a full stack of players in residence. And not only did we, find one, but we actually found two really great folks. Do you want to do the unveiling now?
It's your birthday, man. Let's do it. You announce.
All right. So, in order to fill the huge shoes of Ginger Conlon, and they are very big. I'm not saying it literally, but I'm just saying they're very big. So we wanted to bring on two people that we know and you've actually seen because they were together. Remember, we had them come on as kind of like
that's
the Blue siblings.
The Blue siblings. That didn't even occur to me till after the fact that you said that.
There they are, the brand new players in residence. Anand Thakur, Rebecca Wetterman. They look good, don't they?
They do, and they are the Blue siblings. Whoa!
They look good. Yes,
the Blue siblings. This is now stuck with me.
Well, remember when they came on? I think they were when we did the Meet the Band segments, right? And we had a couple of the folks from our extended players family come on and do one of the Meet the Bands, and they did the interviews with, I forget which band it was, but they both came on and they both had shades on. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? What's up with that? But it's stuck, right?
Clearly.
And so,
they're paired again.
They are. And so we are very excited to have them come on. As a matter of fact, I see Anand is already in the comments section there. That's a good thing. So welcome aboard, folks. I think Anand will start next week because he's they're each the first Thursdays of the month, but they kind of swap off the first Thursday of the month. So I think Anand will be on with us next week, which will be an interesting show because remember we're doing the Wonder Years, the CRM Wonder Years show.
Yeah.
With
that's right.
That's right. So we're gonna have Bob Stutz. I like to call him Buffalo Bob Stutz for obvious reasons. And also the mustache man, John Ferrara. Nimble by way of Goldmine. And we want to talk about the early years of CRM.
There will be more, but those are the current confirmed. Others
more announcements.
Yes.
And one last announcement because we really want to get to what's going on here. We are setting up for our very next CRM Playaz Executive Roundtable. It'll be on Thursday, April 22nd, 1:30 p.m. East Coast time. And it's going to be all about technology investing. We already have some confirmed folks, but we don't have the fully confirmed panel yet. So we're going to leave you guys in suspenders a little bit. But any quick words on that one?
Yeah, in suspense, I think you meant.
Well, a buddy of mine used to say in suspenders.
I actually like in suspenders. I think that's a good one. Yeah, so we'll leave people in suspenders.
Yes.
In suspense, in suspenders, and in suspension. Okay, so there we go. That's a really interesting executive roundtable because one, we're covering all areas. We got VC, private equity, angel, vendor investment arm, and we're covering a wide range because a lot of people just don't know how that world works and what the differences are. And we think it's about time that people learn what those differences are and how that works from people who are very well, not only companies and organizations, individuals who are very well respected, but really good people and are willing to, impart their wisdom. So I think that's going to be very exciting. We do have one other thing to announce too, which kind of goes in line with your interesting, let's say your interesting data, but it's something related. Remember, on April 27th. But let's bring in when we get to the data, we'll talk about it.
Well, we might as well do it now.
All right, let's do it.
Because it does feed into the analyst theme. Yes, I was checking out the Adobe earnings report, the transcript from the call, and I was made aware of this by Janet Arsenal from Adobe. And we're not going to get into anything deep or heavy or anything, but one thing stood out that really caught my attention was you see that number, that $1 trillion number. So they're saying, based on what's going on with the Adobe Digital Index and the data they have at their disposal, that 2022 will be the year that e-commerce crosses the $1 trillion mark. So those are nice little tidbits that we come to expect from folks who really know how to do analyst relations, right? And
to that end, Adobe has their Digital Experience Summit coming up April 27th, 28th, and CRM Playaz, in accordance with the rules and regulations and standards set by CRM Playaz community and also by the research we've done with the CRM Playaz index. We have come up with the April 27th CRM Playaz watch party for Shantanu's keynote speech. Right, so that will be what time? Do we have the time yet for that?
Yeah, we do. We do have the event page ready to fire off. We'll do it after the show. But all I can say is, his keynote, I have to believe, will definitely be way better looking than it was last year. Let's put it like that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be mean or anything, but also way better than it was last year.
I'll just say I'm assuming that he is safe and sound and not in the captor's hands anymore. So
exactly good enough. I'm happy to be a bad cop on this one. Don't worry. Right.
All right. We better move on. Okay, so
yes,
let's get to what we are here to do. We have 5 absolutely great guests, and we're going to talk about them and talk about what they do and talk about why we're so glad that they do all these things for folks like us. But before we bring on our 5, we want to kind of step down memory lane because, we're talking about the 5 guests we have, but it's not like they're the only 5 that do it great. And we've had the luck to have folks like them and other folks. So let's just walk down a little bit of memory lane here, because these are folks, well, some of them are not necessarily that far in the backfield there for us. Some of them are still working and helping us out, but we wanted to show a little appreciation to you. Want to name some of these folks here? Let me get the CRM Playaz banner out of Letty's face, because that's just not right.
Yeah, you're touching her hair with that. So let's start with, on the left, we have Ryan Zuck, who both Brent and I met a long time ago when he was at Sales Logics. And not only was he at Sales Logics, but now he's at Verint as their chief analyst relations person. Just very quickly, Ryan is just loved by everybody. He's an honorable person. He is excellent in his job. He is a good human being. He's a great family man. He's just like, he's nearly perfect. Then I think,
wow.
Well, let's put it this way. Without going into detail, there was once a conference where 8 analysts made a pact to not write anything bad about the horrible company that Ryan happened to be working for at the time, because we were afraid it would hurt Ryan at the company. So we literally didn't write bad things. Let's say we found other ways to get across the fact we didn't like him. But with Ryan, we all of us loved this guy so much we protected him. All right, so that's Ryan. Now I'll keep it a little shorter since otherwise I could go on just these people. You go down straight down. That's Laura Irwin from Adobe. I've known her many years. Laura has always been there to make sure that we get what we need, talk to who we need to talk to. She's also a good hugger. And Laura is somebody who knows what she's doing at all times, and at the same time is always a good friend to those who she works with. The big picture in the middle, Brent, I'll let you take this one because we both love her equally here.
Yeah, this is Susie Penner, and this is somebody, she was like the original analyst relations person that we fell in love with. And remember, she called us her boys. Like it was me, you, Esteban, Dennis. We were her. She took care of us. She was like almost sort of like a tiger cub. That's what we were. And she was like, I don't know what the female tiger's called, but the mother tiger. She was the one that just guarded us, and if anybody tried to get in our way, she would be like, "Get the heck out of here!"
Yeah, I literally saw that happen. If you remember, at that restaurant.
Oh, I remember who it happened with. I'm not going to name names or anything, but she's great. She was with Oracle years ago, and then she moved on. Now she's at GoDaddy, and I have some when I'm lucky, some opportunity to interact with her, but we miss dealing with her on a regular basis. And then when she left, go up to the top right, and Miss Letty Ledbetter took over. You want to talk a little bit about Letty?
Sure. Letty was actually Susie's boss at Oracle, and Letty was VP of Corporate Communications, and stayed that while she was at Oracle. She's now at Cisco, but Letty again. When now that we have someone you'll meet shortly there, the independents are pretty secure at Oracle. Oracle's kind of accepted independence, but there was a period where Oracle didn't want to do that. There was Forrester, Gartner, and not much else. And so Letty and Susie and then Letty fought for independence like I've never seen. One is because they understood the market, but two is they understood that we were people also with an opinion that was probably meaningful to Oracle. And three, she's just an extraordinary person. I mean, really truly extraordinary person. And just absolutely one of the she was a fighter too. She just fought fiercely to work things through. Look, taking on Oracle legal is not easy, believe me. But Susie took on Oracle legal. She took on whatever she had to do to make sure that independents were well established at Oracle without any trappings or blinders or stealth, or we were just part of the overall influencer program there. And finally, of course, a man who
bringing up the rear. No.
Right. A man who we, of course, adore always. And honestly, if he wasn't working for a vendor, he'd probably be under the CRM Playaz. Is Alan Berkson, who is actually more than just analyst relations at Freshworks, but we've known Alan for years. I mean, I remember when I met him, he was the most brilliant, and still is the most brilliant expositor of the corporate narrative that I've ever met. He actually had a business helping major companies develop corporate narratives. But Alan is like this Renaissance man, well-rounded human being, great sense of humor. To his great credit, hates blueberry bagels. Wow. And Alan is also one of the best AR. I had to. I have no choice. Is one of the best AR people I know. I mean, he basically took Freshworks from no AR program to a really well-established AR program, and you can't help but love him. And one thing with Alan is you will see him everywhere. His footprint, not just his footprint, his head, his mouth, his arms, his legs, his entire body is out there doing stuff all the time. So great guy. He's probably on this, I don't know. There he is. He's on the comment stream right now. Just an amazing person.
He is, but I wish you could have seen Jeff McDonald's face when you talked about how Alan's body parts are all over the place. He really
Well,
quite
that's the
amusing.
Godfather thing in me.
All right. So real quick, just some additional quick shout outs. This is part of why we love these folks. Not only are they great to work with and they give us everything we need, they actually, help us meet people like Steve Kerr, or they help me meet Barry Bonds, or they help me meet what's my man Dan Reeves. They know that we like sports, and then they set us up to have serious meetings courtside at the Golden State War. I mean, we're having a little bit of fun here, but these folks, they become friends because they kind of key into the things that we like, and they find ways to incorporate it into it. So we just thought that would be nice
And I guess the final word on this picture is the person I have my arm around is Mei Lee, and some of you know him. Some of you know her. She was the SVP of Corporate Communications at NetSuite. She was one of the first people I've ever known who understood influencer relations long before, literally long before almost anyone else. Absolutely remarkable in terms of her ability to just draw in this extraordinary range of people who just did anything she asked, because we all absolutely loved her. But she could be tough as nails when she had to be too. And I'm still in touch with her a lot. I was one of the people, I went to her wedding. This is somebody that, as far as I'm concerned, is a member of my family. That's how close I am to May. And the final thing is, you see that wall up there? You probably think, oh yeah, that's the home runs for the San Francisco Giants top 4. It's not actually. That is literally the Analyst Relations Hall of Fame. And what that is that when you see Bonds, that's not Barry. That's this other Bonds who actually had simultaneous connections to 762 analysts. And that's why he actually is on the wall. And you can make the obvious.
All right, we better move on. We're loaded out of time. I will just say to Alan Berkson, there is no picture of Shaq because I didn't get a chance to meet Shaq at a refresh. So there you go. There's something to work on. Just kidding. All right. So let's do this. We got some special introductions, and if I can only, all right, there we are. So we got some special introductions to each of our 5 guests. And what we did is we asked some of our analyst friends to tell us why they like working with some of these people, And so we have little short intros for each of you. And so let's see. I'm going to start with. All right, I got the one I'm going to start with. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Lori Mccabe from SMB Group, and we've been around about 10 years, and I think I've known Kathleen for most of that time. Kathleen's really wonderful to work with. She is always on the ball in terms of getting us connected with the right people at the right time for what we need to know regarding the SMB offerings and market with Salesforce. She's also very proactive at connecting us and steering us towards opportunities where we may be able to help with a project or research or something else that Salesforce might need. And I've also gotten to know Kathleen socially over the years. And most of all, or best of all, Kathleen's also a wonderful human being. And I hope to work with Kathleen for many more years. Thank you. Hi.
Okay, so that Kathleen that she was speaking about is Kathleen Obata. Hey there, put your mic on there.
Sorry.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, that was really sweet. Thank you, Lori. Thank you. I'm excited to be on today and join the group. That was really nice intro. Appreciate that, Lori.
Okay. So we got the next one up, and let's see, who should we do next? Oh, I got it. All right. You're ready for this one, Paul. This will be first.
Hi, everybody. This is Ray Wong with Constellation Research. Let me tell you why I like working with Jen Douglas. So analyst relations professionals are everywhere. And as you know, everybody has a different style, different kind of approach. But you can really tell when someone loves their job, they love what they do, they go the extra mile. And Jen Douglas is one of those individuals. More importantly, she really cares about the profession. A lot of folks do AR and, they do it. They don't fully have their heart in it. But more importantly, they don't really understand how AR is supposed to work. And Jen gets it. Analyst relations is that intersection between product marketing, what the sales folks are doing, corporate marketing, a little bit on messaging, business development, partnerships, and then of course, what the analyst coverage area is. And it's a hard job, as everybody knows, because in AR, analysts are like cats. It's like herding cats is hell. It's hard to do. They're opinionated. They're often very stubborn. They don't always listen to feedback, right? And so analysts kind of are hard group to manage and sometimes curmudgeon-y, but you get the idea. But she does it with a lot of pride, a lot of positive attitude. She's always cheerful about it. She tries to figure out problems. And more importantly, she's an advocate for analysts inside organizations. So anyways, that's why I like Jen Douglas, and hope you all get a chance to talk to her.
He should say that because we're going to get a chance to talk to her right now. There's Jen Douglas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That was very nice. I'm with Cathleen. Like that. Thank you, Ray. That was a very nice intro. And thank you, Brent and Paul, for having us on. This is awesome to be surrounded by amazing peers.
Oh, by the way, that wasn't Ray. That was clone number 2, Ray. So
Clone 2.
He has lots of clones.
Getting original Ray might have cost us a little too much.
Yeah.
Right. Ray is out for repairs at the moment.
Okay. All right. So we got to keep this moving. Here is the next one.
Why do I like working with Kim Guillaume? One of the great things about Kim is that she's an analyst's AR person. She thinks about analysts first. She thinks like an analyst. When we met a couple of years ago, one of the very first things we did was to agree to just have an ongoing conversation, at least monthly, so that we could get caught up on the things I was researching, the things that Oracle was doing, not necessarily things that make headlines, but just understanding how things work. And it's been an incredibly fruitful relationship because I remember just last year we were talking about a research project, and I gave a little bit of advice about how I would do it, and before I knew it, I was doing it. And it turned out to be one of the best research projects we've done here at Beagle Research. Shout out to Kim. Happy to be working with her. She's great at brainstorming, and she's a good listener, which are all things that I need to be successful.
And there she is, Kim. I like how Dennis said Kim Guillaume. He really put it. He got it.
He knows how to pronounce it. And happy birthday, Brent Leary.
I did promise him no one would sing, I just want you to know.
Thank you. No, you know what? She could sing because one of the things that we really, really appreciated with Kim was the whole idea. It was her idea of the rap battle between the CRM Playaz and a couple of Oracle executives, Steve Fioretti and Geoff Workout. And let me just say, it was a great idea. The execution, well, we'll just leave it at that.
Thanks so much for
Brent. It was a brilliant idea, and Brent used the word Brent used the word mercy killing when it was happening. Though. That's what I can say.
I love how awkward it was. That's what the brilliance was of it.
I know.
Okay.
Amazing.
All right, move right along. We got 2 more to go, and here is the next one.
I love working with Geoff McDonald, and it's really not too hard to understand why. In the first place, as an analyst, what I really need and what Geoff is great at understanding is access to executives, access to customers, answers to some of my big questions. And he always finds a way to accommodate. I think probably even more importantly, though, Geoff himself is a great person to talk to. So I can often go to him with questions. I don't necessarily even need to go to someone else in the executive food chain. And probably most importantly of all, Geoff is really just somebody I enjoy spending time with and talking to. So Geoff, looking forward to when we have a chance to do this again in person.
Yeah. Now I put her as the VP of research and all that for Constellation Research. I should have really just put play it in residence because that's all that really matters when it comes to it. Anyway.
That is
all
so
right,
nice.
Geoff.
Wow.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for joining us. And I can't transition into a farm joke just yet. I need to surprise you. So if I tried it now, it just wouldn't feel right. So be on the lookout, though. By the time this show is over, I will fit a farm joke in there.
I'm ready.
All right. Last and certainly not least, here's the last introduction.
So why do I like working with Sandy Lowe so much? Well, so I've worked with Sandy for several years now, and her unique gift really is in putting the relations or relationship part in analyst or influencer relations front and center. And without even trying to, it's just who she is, you know, and she genuinely values your input and proactively seeks it out, which in one sense makes you feel seen and valued yourself, and also makes you feel like a trusted advisor and partner. And let's be honest, in an industry, you know, that is oftentimes so transactional, Sandy is a refreshing reminder of what genuine business and overall human relationships can be. Love you, Sandy Lowe.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
That was really nice. And I'm sure Paul is wondering, wait a minute, when I saw the video, there was no music behind it. But somehow BBD and Poison snuck its way in there. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for all you do.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for all you do.
Only the beginning.
All right. Enough of this fun stuff. All right, Paul, hit him up with something hard.
All right, guys, look, here's the deal. One of the reasons you're all on this show, all of you, is that you add a dimension to analyst relations that a lot of AR people just simply don't, which is the fact that you treat people like people, right? But all of you, look, obviously all of you are very nice human beings, and we know that, but there's also methodology and there's approach and there's thinking that goes in, not just because you want to be good to people, but because you also have to at the same time protect the interests of the companies you represent, and you have to. That's just required. First big question is, how do you balance that at all? On the one hand, you want to be good to the people that you communicate with. On the other hand, you work for a company that you have to represent their interests. How do you do it? And how do each of you think about it? And anyone who would like to can start. We're perfectly happy with minor amount of chaos. Right. So whoever wants to take that one, start with that.
I'm happy to jump in. And
I figured it'd be the male, the guy on the panel. It's got to be the first one. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just
Go ahead, Geoff.
I just wanted to avoid dead space. So I'll be quick and let my esteemed colleagues chime in. But my fundamental belief is that it's all about personal human relationships. And it goes both ways. It's relationships with you, with other analysts and influencers in the industry. And it's also about relationships with our internal stakeholders, executives, subject matter experts, et cetera. And we're really the bridge between them. And there's really no way we could do what we do without having very strong, authentic, genuine relationships.
Yeah.
Well,
I would second that.
Jen, let me ask each of you this. I want to take it a tiny bit further, though, because there are times where ultimately you have to protect the interests of your company. You do. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's your job, right? And most analysts that have a brain understand that, right? But that's not easy either, because you like the people. You still have to say, stop for a minute, maybe, right? How do you think about, well, like when you're up in that kind of situation, because I think this is the crux of why you're all here, right? How do you think about that when you're right up against it? How do you say, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to think? What goes on in your head on this? Because to me, that's super important to understand the difference between you and somebody who's just interested in keeping a reasonable cadence with an analyst.
I'll take a shot at that one and see if I understand where you're trying to get it to go, Paul. It sounds like you want it to go a certain direction. I still agree with Geoff that it comes down to the foundation of an amazing relationship and being able to say, hey, we can either take that offline or, stay tuned. You have a valid point, but we can't talk about it right now, maybe more in the future. And that having a mindset of when we're having an engagement, being able to have that trust and giving the other the benefit of the doubt in pausing, to know that, we as AR practitioners are not able to disclose at the moment and protecting. And yet it doesn't mean we don't want to, it just means we can't at the time. And I think that, like I said, the foundation of relationship and trust and benefit of the doubt is what brings it, what needs to be brought to the table in order for those sort of sticky situations to be fine. I hope that makes sense.
Does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll jump in here as well. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I was just going to say, I think the openness and the trust, as well as just transparency and having the ability to assess the situation and address it individually, because I think each situation is different, but to actually, respond with transparency. And I think that's where the trust comes in and the relationship with you and the other analysts.
Right. Sandy?
Yeah, so adding to transparency, adding to open relationships and human relationships, I think that AR professionals, we ourselves need to establish ourselves as an advisor internally too, to better address the friction. It also makes that open dialogue so much easier when we are seen as advisors and not just appointment schedulers or this and that. I think, we ourselves need to help internal stakeholders see the much larger value that I think a lot of AR professionals are known for.
Yeah, I agree. I often think about it as I have two sets of customers. I have my internal customers who are my stakeholders and execs with me, and I have external customers who are my analysts. And it's making sure it's like that bridge that somebody else mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I would just add that I think it's really, on top of it, it's about keeping it real. It's not just about, analysts pushing for us. I know at Oracle, we can be pushy too. We ask a lot of our communities. So just keeping it real and being like, Paul, Brent, oh my God, I know this is a little crazy. We have you up super early, we're flying you here or whatnot. It is that friendship and trust that keeps everything together. So also everything. Sure.
All right. So,
Well,
go ahead, Brent.
You got to follow up. I'll follow up your follow up.
Well, it was a different question related to this, but because one thing that was really striking was when Ray was talking about what he saw as the components of analyst relations, he threw in a lot of departments there, right? There was pretty much everybody, and each of you have been talking at one level or another about internal stakeholders. Well, I mean, if Ray is, let's say, accurate, and you're talking about internal stakeholders, and you've got an enormous body of internal stakeholders that you have to deal with. And I mean, he pretty much, I think the only department he didn't mention was either legal or customer service. And other than that, he mentioned every other department in the company. So, I mean, first of all, how is that true that you're dealing with that kind of continual fluid, multi-department interaction internally? And then, of course, you're dealing with analysts of many different analysts at the same time. And just let's take it in two circumstances. One is day-to-day, just this normal standard stuff. And if that's true, what do you actually do? Like, what are some of the practices you actually do to take care of that? And two is, let's say in an exceptional circumstance where there's an all-out sort of initiative of one kind. It could be anything ranging from a new gigantic product release to an event that you have to manage, it's more PR than it is AR, or analysts who are pushing at something that came out in the press that was global that day, whatever. It could be exceptional or day to day. But how do you manage it? What are some of the practices you use? Because you're one person. So how do you do this? I mean, to me, that almost sounds honestly impossible.
I'll be the first to say that it's absolutely true. I would say, without knowing these amazing colleagues here, that we're probably all connectors by nature. So having the ability to see across the blurred lines of organizations or functions within or departments within organizations is probably a strength of all of ours. It also speaks to, in my opinion, how much AR often served as a forcing function for some of those departments and functions to speak with each other. I mean, I know at Microsoft, for example, we have a number of different engineering organizations, and as we think about the collaboration across product lines and that type of thing, very often AR are the folks that bring the engineers from those different teams together in a room to have a conversation and to think about it at an Uber level. So I'll stop there and pass it on.
Yeah, I think it's actually the threaded, having the threaded messaging across the different departments and groups and the alignment. I think that our entire team, it's a team approach as well, and having that alignment within our team and connectors, as Jen was mentioning, throughout the organizations. The different departments is the alignment part that sometimes is harder to do. But we want to thread that message so that you have it, the analysts have it, when we talk to you and when we do our engagements, and even, along the whole entire year. So making sure those touch points are there.
So at Zoho, it's slightly different because we aren't organized by numerous departments, and everything is organized by the technology itself, the application. So, and we also have extremely new analyst relations team and corporate communications structure, I guess. So, so what I'm finding is that, in the analyst relations role, you become these chief orchestrators. When a product is ready, they don't launch it. It comes to us first. It comes to analyst relations first, where we do numerous rounds of messaging tests. And then thereafter, we then connect the different dots. We connect the creative team. We connect the product marketing team. We connect the regional teams. And then as the chief orchestrators for this launch, then we are the ones that really construct the entire strategy and the messaging hierarchy to make sure that we are consistent in how we communicate about our product. So it's a work in progress. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert here, but certainly the situation that I am in now is quite different than any other companies I had worked for. And, it's a tremendous responsibility for sure, and certainly a very valued role.
Well said.
Yeah, jump from that. My role at Oracle, I'm not necessarily on the AR team. We have a massive AR team. I'm coming from the Corp Comm side, and I work a lot with influencers and independent analysts. It's very kind of gray area. And Paul, I loved what you said earlier about chameleon relations, because I feel like that's kind of like, I'm technically I work a lot with the AR team, but in the end, it's all about storytelling, telling a cohesive story, and we are like the chief orchestrators, like you said earlier, Sandy. So, anything on that, Geoff, you would add?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love the kind of metaphor of being connectors. We definitely are kind of the hub of lots of spokes that go out to analysts and influencers, as well as to our many different stakeholders internally, and also the point that Jen made about being sort of a forcing function at times. We often see a lot of the sausage making internally at our companies, and then have to play a role to shape the story that we're bringing to the market, and a story that, in a way, suits the analyst and influencer audience as well. And there's a lot of kind of finessing that goes on there. But there's one thing that I love about it. There's never a dull day in analyst relations and in working with industry analysts. Every single day is different, and it's always fun.
Sure.
Okay. Talk about how your job changed, if it did at all, when the pandemic hit. You guys are used to doing, events online, but also, face to face. Some of their bigger analyst events are face to face. How did you have to change, if you did, like your communication, kind of the way you present it, because of what happened with the big shutdown?
Well, for one thing, we couldn't do all of the in-person events that we do, and boy, have we missed that in the last year.
Yeah, for sure. I would also say that, we went from, this is only going to be 2 weeks, and then 2 more weeks, and then 3 more months, and we all sort of had to adapt very quickly to no in-person events. So everybody started doing virtual events, and then everybody got tired of virtual events. Everybody started getting tired of, and so I had to take a step back, because so many of the folks in my analyst community were saying, like, this is too much. How are we supposed to consume all this information? I have 3 events just this week, and so I took a step back, and I pulled a number of my analysts and just said, like, look, recognizing ton of digital fatigue right now, what's most important to you? How can we help you? And at the end of the day, it was interesting. Somebody said it earlier about making sure it was Nicole in her intro. She was talking about, just being able to have good, candid conversations with executives and SMEs, and more of the live Q&A, less of the talking at. And so we pivoted our approach very quickly to be a lot more live Q&As, and sending either pre-reads or pre-recorded, demos or that type of thing for the analysts to sort of consume on their own time or self-educate with, and really indexing the time that we did spend with our analysts in good strategic conversations. So that's one of the ways that we did it, and are still doing it, frankly.
Yeah, I think change is still happening. Now that we're in an area where more people are getting vaccinated. Thank you, Paul. Love that. What's going to happen next? Is it going to be like a hybrid effect? What is that going to look like? What does in-person look like? Is everyone going to be flying around like they used to, or maybe it's cut in half? Or I don't know, maybe we're all geared to be in Vegas every weekend again.
Let's hope not. But yeah. I know. Let's hope not. Except maybe for Brent and his favorite hotel, but we won't get into that. But no, Kim, you're absolutely right. It's hybrid perhaps is the future, but I think the key is all of us are watching, we're listening, we're learning from each other on what to do and what not to do in the next event. And, you guys just attended our analyst summit, and you knew that we had to pivot quite a lot. But part of that process was also speaking to each of you and many of you to hear your do's, don'ts, wants, and don't wants, and to make sure that we are using the few hours we have with you in a way that is worthwhile to you and helpful to you as well. So I'm learning. I'm watching how all of you guys will do your events the rest of the year and making sure that we make the right adjustments.
Yeah,
I was hoping either.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Cathleen, go ahead, because I was going to comment about something you did, but go ahead first.
Well, most of it, I think, from Salesforce perspective, we had to pivot quite early and quite fast, and we are having more events than we've ever had with the analysts in terms of online. And I think what the reality is that we're learning a new way to engage, and it's helping, I think, all of us. I know there's, like Jen, what you were saying, there's a amount of time that is going to be the right amount of time to engage, or if it's too much and the fatigue. But I think we're all learning that it's a new way of engagement that we didn't have. We would do kind of some of our briefings maybe online, but it's a whole different way of working from an AR perspective. And I think that every time we have one, we change and we learn to pivot quickly. And I think this will be part of our AR strategy going forward, whether we have hybrid or face-to-face. I think these will continue.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, right? I think all of us also are noticing that maybe the way we did in-person events and the content that we gave wasn't actually the highest of quality. So I felt that this period, we learned much better how to make sure that we hit the point and use the time wisely, and make sure that the engagement is there, and not like what John Reed likes to say, death by PowerPoint. So it's been a really good adjustment, I think, a learning experience.
I would say to both Kathleen and Sandy's points, it's also been refreshing, at least for a number of my spokespeople and execs, that I've seen the more human side of them with just the more natural, less formal type of engagements, more live Q&As. I mean, we talked the other day with a few analysts, and for the first 7 minutes of a 30-minute conversation was about oysters and champagne. And it was like, we just wouldn't have seen that as prolific as we are now. So it's a bit of a refreshing approach too.
I mean, one of the trickier things though, just example, yesterday, there were 3 analyst events at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Right. And what the benefit to an analyst is this means opening 3 tabs on a browser, right? So, well, that's actually literally what I did. I'm not kidding. I had 3 tabs open and I would jump between the 2, between the 3. There were slight time differences. So it was like I stayed one for a half hour, let's say, moved to another one for the second half hour, one to the third one in the course of both, and then went back to one. I mean, I just move around. The downside of that is you end up with a somewhat fragmented view of everything that went on. The upside being that I can get that stuff later and read and listen to the archives, which I do, right? And but to me, it's very hard because look, obviously you have representing 5 separate companies here. You're not aware of all the other events that each of you are doing. And we are, because we're getting notices and we want to attend all of them, right? But, then you have, from the analyst side, we have to make judgments like, all right, well, I just attended 10 from that group and 2 from that. I should probably go see what the 2 are doing a little more than the 10 I just saw, right? And so, it's not so much fatigue as it is just, the famous study about having too many choices. Yeah, it tends to be in that range, which is too many choices, and you have to make, but you do still have to make them. So you're effectively, it's the old thing how we always used to talk about separating signal from noise. Now it's separating signal from signal, right? And that's way harder. It's way harder.
I
will say
in some
this,
ways
though.
That's on us to, sorry, Brent, I'm going to
go ahead.
All yours.
No, man, it's, we want to hear from the farm, get out there, man.
Geoff is about ready to give us all some good advice. So what were you going to direct us to do, Geoff?
Oh, no, I would say what Paul was saying about all of the signals coming up. In a way, we need to curate the content that we're sharing. And there's been so much happening throughout the pandemic. Sometimes too much happening to share everything with all the analysts that we work with. So we have to kind of figure out what's the right stuff to share and when to share it and make sure it isn't too much.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm just slightly a little disappointed that nobody brought up the addition of having analysts do DJing during these analyst events.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, there you go.
Oh, come on. Okay, so apology. That was the highlight. For our little virtual social. Well, plus you
Our
finally
same with ours.
request. Yeah.
we had Brett during our opening,
Brent's
and
the
Ray.
most used analyst DJ in the industry, by the way.
Yeah. What does that say? I don't know. What about this? What you guys deal with, like the tier? I know, these phrases are used. Tier 1 analyst firms, like the Gartners and the Forresters and IDC, and then you have maybe the smaller firms like a Constellation.
Boutiques.
And then you have,
Boutiques.
okay, boutiques. And then you got like these
Good
independent guys like Paul and myself and others. How difficult is it to work with each of these kinds of groups? Because you can't treat us all the same. I mean, we know that tier 1 is called tier 1 for a reason, and then the independent folks, we're out there. But how do you figure out what to do with all of us?
I'll be the first to say that I don't call it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And maybe that's because of how I think about the business that I serve. In many different portions of my coverage or portfolio, I would say sometimes tier 1 is actually a lot of the boutique firms and the independents, and Gartner, Forrester, and IDC aren't even in there. So if you think about it from that regard, I try not to list it that way. I guess in a nutshell, the easiest way to say it is you have to do what's right for each of the businesses at the time. And obviously that evolves and shifts. There are, like in my portfolio, I have 18 different products, if you will, all varying in different maturity stages, and 3 sort of sub portfolios. And so I tend to think about it at that lens and what's right for each of the sub portfolios and or products at the time, based on where the business is, what the growth goals are. If the product has good product truth, if it's differentiated or not, maybe it's very early on. So I think about it more from that aspect.
I agree.
Yeah, we go ahead, Kim.
I would just say, I was going to say, Brent, you are my tier 1. I think of everyone that I deal with is tier 1. You all are important, and you're like my little baby tiger cub. But go ahead.
Well, tradition continues.
Birthday tiger cub. we untier the analysts. We don't do the tiering, and similar to Jen, it's based on the relationship and what we need to bring the relationship forward with our executive team and product teams. So that's our first thing. Don Toshik on our leadership team and Anshen is we untier the analysts. Yeah.
Same. I don't know actually too many AR professionals who still call it tier 1, 2, and 3. I think at every level, the analysts and influencers bring in a different type of value, right? They are, of course, those that have very siloed approach, and the evaluations serve a certain type of purpose for a certain segment. And of course, the way we approach them would be completely different than how then we would approach an influencer or independent analyst like the two of you, where we trust you to discuss our company-wide strategy. So you can help advise us on each piece of the puzzle as they come and get added, into the portfolio. So yeah, I definitely agree with Kim, Jen, and Kathleen on, really understanding what is the audience, who's the audience that these firms serve too, and what is their specialty, and making sure that where we're communicating with them, are they communicating to the C-level? Are they communicating to, director level? Are they talking to business users? So making sure that how we talk about our own products and strategy align very well with their audiences too. But yeah, no tiering whatsoever. It's all about the different types of value.
Right. Geoff?
100% agreement from me. Everything people said.
So here's a question. So over the years, I literally have heard over and over and over again about from AR people, not you guys so much, but AR people telling me how they need to establish a regular cadence with me. And I hate that word, by the way. I just want you to know how much I hate it. I really hate it. Like every time I hear it, my answer is always the same, which is, tell you what, join a marching band and play the drums. That's right. Because I can't, the idea of establishing a cadence, look, I get the idea. You want to make sure I get press releases on time and the regular events, and I get it. But it's a horrible thought, much less approach. That said, it's not like AR people shouldn't do that either, as much as I personally hate it. Because ultimately, you know, there are people, let's say, to everyone's point, there are people that you're just not going to be regularly in verbal touch with, right? I mean, just not. First, you don't have the time. Secondly, you've made determinations already. And it doesn't mean that at some point they won't rise to that point, you know, but at the same time, you want to keep them informed.
Hey, Paul, just real quick, we just had to say a quick goodbye to Jen because she's got to roll off.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
We
so
appreciate
much.
you being with us.
Love you.
We'll be in touch.
See
Bye,
ya.
Jen.
Cheers.
Bye, Jen.
So what do you do? I mean, how do you, again, we're talking about analysts who you're not in consistent verbal communication with. So it could be 70% of the analysts you talk to, let's say, or communicate with somehow. How do you plan that? How do you think about it even? I mean, look, again, you don't have to use the word cadence, but I realize that ultimately you are going to be talking about that. So how do you think about it? Because I get it, but I hate it, but I get it.
Well, for starters, you know, we should not ever think of these relationships as transactional. These are lifelong relationships. And transactional meaning, gosh, I have a, you know, product launch coming up. I have this and that. I have a, you know, big business update coming up. That shouldn't be the only time that we think of checking in. And by checking in, I don't even mean a business check-in. You know, we're all human beings. We're all busy human beings dealing and juggling with a lot, especially this past year. So sometimes my point of contact, you know, and I hate the word cadence too, would be, hey, how's your family? Did you get your shots? You know, how are things going? How's your mother? How's your child? I mean, I think that just cannot be undermined because ultimately we are human beings that are, and our jobs don't define us. So, you know, by regular cadence, to your point, it's not a work cadence. It's a human to human contact cadence, I guess, that I personally would like to establish with as many analysts as I can.
Okay.
I think another thing that sort of, besides the human interactions that are always important for a friendship to maintain it, there also are organizational, each of our companies has their flows that are happening, whether product releases, events, other things that are happening. And I think those can be drivers for having conversations as well. But you know, going back to the beginning of the conversation, you know, it still starts at human relationships and staying in contact as you would with any friend.
Right. I would say it's about adding value too. It's adding to the conversation. And I mean, in PR, you don't pitch reporters without reading their stories and knowing a little bit about the topic and an idea or something. And you got, it's a bit of a dance, you know. It's not, hey, let's be friends right away. It comes with time.
Yeah, no, you have to earn that trust. Absolutely. And Kim is totally right. To make sure you are providing value, understanding what value means to each of them.
And really listening, you know, listening to the analysts and it's not just us doing our briefings or inquiries on that side. It's listening to the analysts and where you're seeing your point of view and perspective on the market or the product or the offering or solution, and telling us what what the reality is, being truthful with us and sharing that, the good and the bad. And the bad is what we want to hear, is how we can do better. So I think even with the analysts you're mentioning, Paul, if it's one that we haven't connected with or we want to connect with, we try to connect with all of them as often as possible. But a lot of it's listening to finding out more, and it just helps us in our jobs.
Okay, we better wrap this up because we taking a little bit more time from you than we had anticipated, but we really appreciate you joining us. And I got 2 last questions. Well, the last question is only for a few of you because I already know the answer to for some of you on the last question. Anyway, if you could each give a piece of advice to a newly minted analyst relations person to get them off on the best footing with folks like us, knowing what kind of foibles and attitudes that we kind of have. If each of you could just give us that would be great. I'll ask Cathleen to go first.
Well, funny you should ask, because we do have a new hire who recently joined, and we have set up, or Brent and Paul have kindly agreed to meet and give her some advice. And she's brand new to the team, and we appreciate that openness. And it's not something that she's listening into one of our briefings or inquiries. It's just a one-on-one. And so I think that's important to having a new hire learn AR.
Okay.
Kim.
I would say 2 things. Have fun, because I feel like that's what I do with you all. And then 2, no blueberry bagels. That's
it. No bagel?
No blueberry bagel.
That'll only get you halfway on this show, but we'll press on. All right, Geoff.
I guess one thing I'd say is develop your critical questioning skills. Being able to ask good questions and then listen, I think is key.
Well, last but certainly not least.
All right. Okay. I would suggest, join the profession humbly. Have as many conversations with AR professionals and also analysts as you possibly can, because AR isn't a profession, well, maybe it is now, but that you can't study in college. I don't think. It's been a while, but certainly you learn best when you listen, when you open up, when you hear what the pros and analysts have to say. And then you find your own way. So that's my my suggestion. And we are actually looking for 2 AR managers in the Texas area, in case anyone listening is interested.
Nice plug. All right. My piece of advice actually kind of folds into my last question. I think I already know the answer for Sandy. Favorite professional football team, but I'm not sure I know the others. And I don't even think, Cathleen, you never talk about football, so do you even follow football?
We haven't had that combo. We have about basketball.
Right. Do you have a favorite football team? Oh,
49ers.
Okay.
Sorry. I know you're in the Rams attire.
It's okay. It stings a little bit, but believe me, it's not the worst answer you could give me.
No, there's only one wrong answer. Just know that, everybody.
All right. And Geoff, I don't think we've ever gotten this from you either. Who's your favorite football team?
Well, I have 2 answers. First, I enjoy the college game more than the professional game. And
well,
so
you're out in the farm, with that makes sense.
Well, I'm always cheering for my Stanford Cardinal, and the Stanford campus is called the Farm. So I was right there. But if you press me on a professional team, of course, it's the local San Francisco 49ers.
I can live with that. I can live with that. So Kim, I don't know if I've ever asked you, but you could really put a nice cap to my birthday if you answer one way, or you could just completely sour it if you answered another way.
I'll go
No
with
pressure.
the Giants. I'm not a massive fan, but I live in the Bay Area, and you got to go with it. So.
All right.
This is good.
Wow.
This is good.
I know.
The line.
We're
lying.
Everybody.
Well, just to be on the safe side, is any of you from the Northeast, like the Boston area? Just curious.
Originally,
Okay.
Brent.
Okay. Well, at least you've seen the errors of your ways, and you're not following a particular
He's
football
adjusted.
team.
Okay.
It's a long
Look,
time ago.
Ultimately, the only wrong answer is the Patriots, and that basically gets you never invited on the show.
Is that a team?
That's the thing. Not anymore.
Not anymore. All right, but seriously, this has been really great, and I'm
Awesome.
so glad that you guys joined us and had this conversation, and let us, celebrate you in a small way, and a small token of our appreciation, because we really do appreciate everything you guys do. So.
We love you guys, seriously. I mean, you guys have been amazing. It's why you're ultimately you are the difference makers in AR, really. And let me even widen it in IR, in influencer relations, because I know you're greater. And just know that.
You guys make our jobs fun. Thank you.
That's right. Make it fun and exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kim, say hello to Feld. What's his name? Feld Goldspar. Did I get that right?
I think it was.
What's his name? Skip Feldspar or something like that.
No, I forgot when you said that.
It was
it's Feldspar. Isn't it Feldspar his last name?
Yeah, Stig Feldspar, and I think
Sig Feldspar.
Stig Feldspar. Everybody else is wondering what the hell are these guys talking about? It's an inside joke. It's just put it.
Just watch BYOB 2020 Oracle's Behind the Band interview, and you'll understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got to Stig up, see what's going on.
Watch it. Stig Feldspar. Worth watching.
And Sven, we were doing so well. The wrong answer would not
Sven,
be
you're
the right.
You're fired. Sven's fired from the comments section.
See you next
Happy
week.
birthday, Brent.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Go Rams.
Thank you,
And
guys.
that was nice. And on that note, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and you know how we end this show.
Yes.